Man, this Trump administration 2.0, they're wild. They are about to destroy the country like a Trump casino. So, okay, so here's the thing. Student debt update. If you have a federal student loan debt, you may run into issues when you recertify call, including being told you will be removed from the SAVE IDR repayment plan and switch to a standard repayment. So basically, if you've done income-based repayments or you had a payment that was lessened for any reason because you couldn't make the full payments, that is completely done. Step one was when you went to the website, they grayed out for you to even apply for these things, and now it's just out and out gone. So I think either A, you might be putting in forbearance, but if you put in forbearance, the interest I think keeps clicking. But now you're back to standard pay. So basically, the Trump administration is going to force a bunch of people to pay their full pay for full monthly pay for student loans. Now, for a lot of people, that's going to be quite impossible to do because those pays are pretty hefty. And yes, you can pay on it for the rest of your life, but they're hefty payments. And I already saw a story recently where they said people are falling behind on their car payments. Here's the thing. Here's a little tip for you Trump administration people. If you have just a regular middle class person, let's say they have a job, right? You have a house or an apartment, or let's say you have a family, you have to pay for a house or an apartment. You got a car, you got to go to work, you got to pay for the car. Because if you live in New York or someplace like that where you got the subways, that's a little bit different, but you got to have a car. If you got kids, you got those expenses. And you got to pay for gas, food, the whole deal. If you have any type of money issues, you start looking at, well, what am I going to pay first and what am I pay last? For a lot of people, they pay rent. They got to pay rent first. Like, hey, I need a home, or I need something for my family. I'm going to pay rent. That's important. If you got a car, you need that to drive the kids around to school or go to work. That's next. Like, oh man, I got to pay for my car, right? And then third, if we talk about these three things, it's your student loans. Student loans moving forward will always come last to people when they're looking at their bills. And it's like, what do I need to pay on first? What do I really have to pay on? Because if they're skipping on paying on their car loans, they're definitely going to skip on paying these student loans. If your student loan, if you have a car payment and that car payment is like $150 to over $200, and you're looking at your student loan payment, if it's the standard loan payment, and if it's like $300 or $200, people are not going to pay that student loan. And guess what's going to happen? These student loans are going to into default. It's inevitable. When all these Republicans were mad at Joe Biden for wiping out student loan debt, student loan forgiveness, and it's like, oh, they can't do this, blah blah blah. Do you guys know how much student loan debt is in this country? It's a ton, and that stopped people from buying homes. People deferred their payments because they at least want to build up their nest egg to buy a home, to buy a car, to have some savings, to take care of their kids. Some people put in a forbearance, somebody put in deferment, and then say, you know what, I want to pay on it anyway, but I can't pay this full thing. The income-based repayment, yeah, it's going to take you longer to pay off your student loan, but at the same time, at least that person was paying on their student loans at a lower price so they can pay for food and gas and a home and a car. By doing this thing here, you guys in the Trump administration are guaranteeing student loan default. And I know Republicans are, well, they need to pay everything back. Yeah, they should. And they probably was paying stuff back. But this, if you got to choose between your family and a place to stay and driving to work and this student loan debt, that's like, I'm not paying on it. I'm going to let it go in default and let the chips fall. They should have just let Biden just wipe out. Honest to God, they should have just let Biden just wipe out all the student loan debt. All the student loan debt. Because the thing about student loans, these things are so expensive unless you get a really good job. Unless you get a really good job, you're not going to be able to pay it off. I remember when Obama became president, he had just paid off his student loans because he wrote that book about his dad. He was having student loan debt when he was running for president or about to run for president. He had student loan debt, but because that book was so successful, he was able to pay it off. And he was a senator. I don't know why we don't investigate why I don't know why colleges are so expensive anyway. Like, how is Weston Colt How has world history changed in the last 30 some odd years since I've been in college? Is English any different? Is Western civilization any different? Is phys ed any different? Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you can climb a wall now. You have rock climbing. Oh yeah, that's $2,000. Colleges should not be this expensive. So you come out of college, you got all this debt. Coming out of college, you have a ton of debt. Listen, I understand it if you go to medical school, right? I understand it if you go to law school. Like, those are added skills. Like, I understand, even being a nurse, and shout out to the nurses out there. I understand the added debt because you have to learn the specific skill. But if you just go into a 4-year degree in communications, it's like, come on, man. This thing shouldn't be $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 a year. It doesn't, for a 4-year degree, it doesn't make any sense. Instead of looking at why are colleges so expensive, why do people need to take out loans for a 4-year degree? Instead of looking at that, saying like, go to all these colleges saying, well, why is this college so expensive? How can we cut costs? Instead of cutting, because their idea of cutting costs is always like, well, we're going to cut professors. And it's like, that's not the way you do it, man. And I always said, like, where's the money going? I said that back in the day. And it's like, man, I'm paying this money for college like every year. Where's all that cash going? Nobody ever audits the books. Of course, you got those people. Oh, well, when I went to college, I paid off all my debt. Man, dude, in the 80s, I forgot I had these stats. I lost these stats. College was, now I'm going to say super cheap, but it was real cheap back in the 80s. So if you got a really good job in the 90s, you were able to pay off your debt by 1999 because college wasn't as expensive. College is crazy now, man. And factor that in, if someone send their kid to private school, let's say you send your kid to private school, because I've seen that happen. You send your kid to private school, and now you got to come back around, and then you got to find money to send your kid to college. We do things so wrong in this country. We are so effing backwards in this country, man. Why do you think by getting rid of SAVE and income-based repayments is going to be good for this country? Do you seriously think that people all of a sudden are going to say, I don't need food. I don't need to pay this rent. I'm paying for the student loan. You really think that people are going to prioritize their student loans over gas, food, rent, car payments? You really think they're going to do that? I'm telling you right now, I mean this with peace and love. If this thing goes through and you are made people of all races, of all genders, of all ages, if you really think that they're going to be paying that full amount every month, you got another thing coming. Yeah, you're going to have some people's going to try. They're like, you know what? It's my responsibility. I'm going to try. Even the people who are maybe Republican or Trump people, or feel like, you know what? It's time for me. I'll start paying this back. Let's say they do. After a while, they're going to say, damn, I just got my car fixed, and I got my car payment, and I got that student loan. I'll pay on that next month. It's going to happen. And well, people lose their jobs. You might be a person who's actually paying your student loans. You actually were paying your student loans. You were one of those people that paid the full amount every month. You're that staunch person that paid it every month. But let's say you lost your job, and then you don't know all this stuff is happening. It's, oh man, what about that? Oh yeah, there's that income-based repayment. I'll go apply for that, and it's gone. Gone! It's like, nope, you got to pay the full amount. Yeah, but I don't have the money. I paid every month. Nope. New policy. You got to pay the full amount. Even that guy or gal who's maybe the staunch Republican who paid their student loans every month, if they lost their job, what are they going to do? They can't pay it. You don't have income-based repayments anymore. I guess you got forbearance, but then man, I forgot that. The tax on that still keeps coming. The interest rates keep on coming. So what do you guys think? If you got a student loan and you can still pay it on, what are you going to do? You know, Biden forgave my student loan. Thank you, President Biden. But for the youngster, what are y'all going to do, man? This is going to shoot them. This is horrible. This is horrible. I can't say this enough. It's horrible for the Republicans because I think they go lose the House and the Senate over this in the next election.